Hello, everyone. I'm Raga Olga de Silva, or Totally Out Now, as you know me. A very, very warm welcome to all. At Speaking Minds, we continue our focus on sharing powerful stories, insightful lessons, hosting thought leaders, motivational speakers, industry experts, performers, and we bring them to you through our online show from the other side. I'm the co founder and director of Speaking Minds, India's largest international speakers bureau. So let's talk about our guest today. Imagine you're 23 years old, a search and rescue mountaineer. It's your job to rescue people. Yet things happen, and you find yourself stuck up in the mountains due to poor weather. For 13 and a half days, it's minus 20 degrees. The rescue operation has all of New Zealand on their feet, literally. You come out alive, but you lose your feet, and you have to start life all over again. What do you do? If you're Mark Inglis, you go on to summit Mount Everest. Join me in welcoming Mark Inglis, our wonderful friend. What should I call
Raga,
you?
it's so good to see you. So good to see you. It's been such a long time now since we've seen each other on the streets of Mumbai. We connect again soon, I hope.
Well, it would seem that we may have a little bit of network issues, but please, audience, bear with us, engage with us as usual, and we will make sure that we keep it as smooth as possible. But technology. But Mark, before we start, you're in the most safest place, I think, in the world right now. Can you send us Jacinta Ardern here? We want your prime
Oh,
minister.
yeah. No, can do. We keep Jacinda. Thank you. It's
I know,
New
just
Zealand
for
is
a
a
day.
very safe place to be. Yeah.
What an amazing prime minister! What an amazing world leader! So it must feel great to be, under that kind of leadership, right?
Well, New Zealand's feeling very proud at the moment, but it's we're also entering a phase where we've only had just over 20 people die from this. We have had businesses shut down for 8 weeks and longer now. But it's interesting that people are now starting to um, um, have shut down angst. They want to get out. They want to get going,
Sure.
and they want it to start again. And one of the biggest challenges that the government has now is going just whoa, slow down. We need to take this easy, and
Sure.
that's New Zealand's challenge is the tail of the COVID challenge, and so we've been so lucky. It's almost back to normal in New Zealand, apart from one small thing: no
Okay.
one's allowed in and no one's allowed out.
I know, but at least you have a normal life, Mark. And when we read up on New Zealand, we just think how amazing. I wish I was back home in New Zealand, as you know, and
Oh yes.
unfortunately, we are not allowed back home as yet. But that's okay. But Mark, when I shared an introduction of you, I said about you being a search and mountain rescuer. Talked about 13 and a half days in an ice cave. I talked about being there under minus 20 degrees. And then I said later, I said, and guess what? If you're Mark Ingalls, you go on to summit Mount Everest. And I made it sound so easy. And I know it has not been easy. And if the world thinks,
Yes.
oh, wow, Mark did it so easy, can you share some of the feelings that you went through? I'm talking about feelings, emotions. What is it that you went through? Because we're doing a lot of this during isolation now, right?
Oh, very much so. And I've been in isolation in my own life in so many different times, some by choice and some not by choice. By COVID, we have had no choice. In that little ice cave on the summit of Aoraki, Mount Cook, there was no choice. And so when you have no choice, then sometimes it's easier and that you just have to get on with life. And the most powerful feelings that you have really center around how much self-confidence you have, how much knowledge you have, how much fear that you have. And really to survive, to flourish in these times, we have to get rid of fear. We have to remove fear from our lives, and the only way to do that is through knowledge and the building of our self-confidence.
So, Mark, can you just share
In
with
many
us?
ways, it has been, yeah.
Sorry. Can you
Sorry.
just share with us for an audience that would have read about you for sure, but just for the audience, can you share with us a quick summary of what happened that day?
Well, it's like everything in life. It's a continuum on a very on a challenging climb. We summited Araki Mount Cook, came out on the summit ridge to a very large storm that was brewing. And the safe thing, the logical thing, is to get out of the wind, and we climbed into a small ice cave near the summit with the full expectation that the weather would change. It's New Zealand, it changes. Well, the weather did change. It got worse, and it got worse, and we were pinned down. The winds were so strong that when you climbed out of the ice cave, you're at risk of just being blown straight off the mountain. And so the only thing we could do was to shelter in this little ice cave and have confidence that the weather would change. Well, after 5 days, we had very bad frostbite in our feet. We had no sleeping bags, virtually no food. I lost 40% of my body weight. And after 13 and a half days, the weather did finally clear and we were able to be rescued. You know, we had severe frostbite, but in that whole 13 and a half days, my only job was to survive. You know, if it wasn't for the knowledge that I had as a mountaineer, if it wasn't for the faith in my search and rescue team that they would eventually get me, and that was the driving force. It was the thing that prodded me to stay alive every day.
Sure, but
And
Mark, sorry, you were only 23 years old. That's very, very young to have these thoughts and that confidence, right?
well, I'd spent my life as a mountaineer, Raga. You know, I started climbing when I was 12 years old. By the time I was 23, you're halfway through your climbing career. You know, it's
Yeah.
you've been in positions that if you do not do the right thing, it will kill you, and it will
Sure.
be your own fault.
And
And
you had a young,
so,
sorry, go on, go on.
yeah, and so to be in an ice cave, it's just a matter of focus. It's just um, another point on that whole journey of being a mountaineer.
So,
Yeah.
so Mark, what do you go through when you are in that situation and you don't know one day from the other, right? Or 1 minute from the other in that very, very horrific, windy situation. So how do you keep yourself alive? I know you said you use knowledge and you use those tools that you had, but how do you keep yourself alive and fear free?
Well, life up in the high mountains in the extreme cold comes down to retaining your body temperature. It's all about that. It's having enough energy left in your body to generate enough heat to stay alive. And so in our case, it was a matter of lying absolutely as still as you can. You had to save all of your energy for your heart and for your lungs and for your brain. And so we watched our feet freeze. We knew that frostbite was happening, that it was creeping up our legs, but we know frostbite doesn't kill you. Hypothermia, the drop in your body temperature will kill you. So you sacrifice your feet for your life. And it's the choices that we have to make in life. But you can only make great choices in life, Ra, if you have knowledge.
Sure.
Hopefully that the thing that everyone's learned in this COVID time is that if you've just been sitting on the couch at home watching movies, well, you've wasted the biggest opportunity you've had in your life to learn. As we come out, as we face a new future, just as I did, back and I had my legs cut off on Christmas Eve. Imagine that. And come New Year, I had a new life. I had a new life as a double amputee. Well, for billions of us. We have just now come out of our COVID lockdown and we are facing a new life. Some people do not have jobs. Some people do not have, their whole industry has disappeared. And the most powerful thing that we could have done is learn as much as we can, is envisage, how am I going to live my life?
Sure. Sure.
That's the challenge, and
Yeah.
it's fantastic to see what Speaking Minds have been doing, what you've been doing on from the other side,
Thank
because what you're doing is you're bringing different perspectives to this new challenge that we have, and hopefully for all of the people out there listening, it's these perspectives that just even just one small thing, it's like a wee light bulb that goes off. I might try that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mark, I have a question on that. When you lost your legs, you were very young. You had a family. You just married, right? And you had a little child
Yes.
at that time. So
Yes.
how did that impact your life and how did you come out of it? This person that you have become or you are? Or was it this person that helped through the journey?
If you ask my friends who knew me before I had my legs cut off, is Mark the same person? They would say yes. You know, it's all you have is you just have a different way of seeing yourself. And so, how you operate as a new young 23-year-old double amputee mountaineer is how you operated just those matter of 2 weeks before, that 1 month, that 2 month, that year before. How we operate as we go into a new life of post-COVID, we carry with us all of our same intellect, our same emotional quotient. We carry with us our moral strength, our attitude, and
Right.
that's the most important thing to carry forward. And so, as a young double amputee mountaineer, I just carried this attitude of a new challenge. This is still me, but it's me with extras. You know, it's I've got new legs,
Yeah.
and it was trying to attack life like that. Now that's not easy.
Not easy, I'm
That
sure.
doesn't come with smiles every day. That comes with tears. It comes with some really bad days.
Sure.
But the important thing is to try and look through those and keep on stepping up.
Sure.
No?
I've got lots of
Yeah.
client audience engagement here. I'll come to that. Audience, please continue to engage. Please ask questions, any kind of questions. Mark is going to respond to all your questions. In the meantime, Mark, I want to come back to what I asked earlier. I know you answered really beautifully, but I still want to know how did you, because it was not this magical. You make it sound magical. You make it sound easy. I've spent a lot of time with you, Mark, and I know it wasn't that easy. How did you manage the dark days? Because I'm sure you would have lots of those dark days. How did you manage that?
Oh, gee, it's I think I travel around life with this invisible bag, Raga, and in this invisible handbag of mine, well, it's a man bag. In my man bag, I have all of the people that I look up to in life, and there's a huge number because no one person can be everything, and you can take things out of other people's lives, and that's really helpful. But by the same token, when the weight is really upon you, and that's what it feels like. It feels like a huge weight. It feels like trying to move through mud up to your thighs, trying to wade through. And every now and then you just have to stop and take a breath and go, right, I need to recover for a short while, but then I need to attack it with even more energy and with even more focus. Because if I don't do that, I will sink. And so it's about always looking up, looking to where you need to go. And when you get there, look around and find somewhere else to go to. It's those small wins that help. Yesterday at 9 o'clock in the morning, I got a brand new set of legs. It's I've been working hard to try and get a new set to fit. And yesterday morning was I stepped onto these new legs. And that is both the most exciting thing I can do in life And it is the most depressing thing I can do in life because new legs hurt.
Yep.
New
Oh,
legs aren't perfect. You have this vision in your mind. They're going to be so good, and they aren't. And it's
wow.
I've started that journey just like having my legs off, just like being coming out of the ice cave, just like coming out of lockdown. In a very small way, I've started it again. You know, I'm on the second day of these new legs, and I'm just having a rest. I'm speaking to you. I've got my weight off, and then I'm going to work on them a wee way and just make a small tweak to them. And then
Wow.
I'll be up and going. And tomorrow I'll go a wee bit further. And then
Uh,
the
uh,
next day, I might not get anywhere and I might need to stop, rest, and then start again. And it's that ability to start again, Raga, I think is the critical element. We have it in all of us. It's just some of us have had more of an opportunity to experience it.
Sure. So, Mark, so on that, it's easy for us to do something which we don't know about, right? So, if you had your regular legs, normal legs, you don't know that wearing a new pair of legs, you have to go through the whole process again. So, in life as well, we do that, right? If I don't know what is not known to me, then I'm able to take the risk and the challenges because I don't know the dangers, the risks, the pain associated with. Now that you know, each time you get a new pair of legs, you know that you have to go through this entire challenge again. How do you deal with it? So do you look out for it, or do you say, no, actually, I'm let me delay the process?
No, no, it's about engaging in the process because I know the final outcome. Um, I'm the eternal optimist. I know the final outcome is going to be better. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be great, but it's going to take a wee while, and nothing great comes without work. You know,
Yeah, sure.
mountain peaks aren't gifted to you. You know, mountain peaks are earned. Every peak is earned, and this is just for me, it's a new mountain I have for the next few months is to get used to these legs, and that's going to take knowledge. It's going to take work. It's going to take frustration. It's going to take a grumpy Mark some days, but other days the elation is fantastic. And it's those little wins, that elation, that keeps me going.
Amazing. Mark, I'm going to take all the questions now, some of the questions from the audience, and I'll come back to you to talk more about Everest and your experience and the lockdown. Okay. So, yeah, hi. We've got some friends here: Sarthak, Khema, Akshay, Raj Singh, Anil Bharani's. All hello to you guys. Sonam Kalra says, such an inspiring person. Remove fear from your life. Kathy says, lovely. Anu says, hi. Question from Sarita Dasgupta. She's an author. What are we going through now just pales in comparison to Mark's experience? Knowledge, faith, and freedom from fear. Okay, she's saying thank you. Thank you, Mark, and thanks, Raga, for giving us the chance to hear his inspirational message. Thanks, Sarita, for joining in. You've got great messages saying how inspiring you are from Anu Bugal. Anil Bharwani asks, was it difficult for your family to accept? How did these relationships develop? How was the support system?
Oh, a really good question. And once again, it is linked to being a mountaineer, and that my family have always known that I'm a mountaineer. I'm a very young mountaineer. Perhaps less about them treating me exactly as I was. And so they give me no quarter, as they say. It's I cannot use my legs as an excuse. It's I need to work on that. And so it's very much a joint venture, and they need to be tough and I need to be tough. And that's the way it really works. They have a huge amount of faith in me, and I have a huge amount of faith that they will always support me, which they do. And so it's my children have grown up with me as a amputee, and their other kids at school say, wow, your dad's a double amputee. He's ridden in the Paralympics. He's had Olympic medals and climbed Everest. Wow. And they go, no, he's just grumpy old dad, and it's
I
it
second
is
that.
very much what we are, and so
Yeah.
there's nothing special. What there is just an extra element of complication, an extra element of that you always need to factor in. But as long as you factor it in and get on with it, then it shouldn't impinge on your life. It should enrich your life.
You're so humble and modest, Mark. Really, when your children, I don't know what they think, and your family what they say. I also say these things to you, I know, but seriously, you're so modest, really. Okay, so the next question is: people are saying you're so inspiring. That's Mitali Mukne. Hema Mehta says, Mark, you're such an inspiration. Thanks, Hema. Raga, all your live sessions are so wonderful, almost touching my heart and soul. Hima, I must say that we are very blessed at Speaking Minds, that the kind of people that we represent and the stories that we share are real stories of real people. So, which means that this has really happened. They are not fictional. And when we bring these stories to you, as Mark said earlier, they are meant to, even if one part of it you can take back home and learn from it, that's a lesson. That's something that we love doing and will continue to do. Anil Bharwani says, eternal optimist. Archana says, Mark, you're an inspiration, huge respect. And again, she gives us compliments, Speaking Minds and me. Thanks, Archana. That's very kind of you. Now, Mark, my question to you, the next question to you is, wow. So Everest, a lot of people know or believe they know about Everest, right? We have watched the movie Everest. If people in the audience have watched, I'm not sure, but we think we understand Everest. But when I do talks and bring people like you on board, they ask basic questions. They say, how does it work in the mountains? How, like
Mm.
basic things. They say, how do you manage your food? How do you manage simple things like what we have to do every morning, right? Ablutions. What about peeing in the mountains? How does all that work? Real basic questions. Can you just share some stuff with us, please?
Well, I mean, Everest is about the small things. Everest is about taking each step. It's making sure that all the small things are right. People say you can buy your way up Everest. You can't. You can buy an opportunity to climb Everest, and if you don't pay enough, you could well die. It's the choice that you make. Everest is like this big exam that you take, and how well you've been coached beforehand, and how well your housemaster is, your school teachers are. They're the things that really that put the base in, and then you're the pupil. You have to apply yourself, and that's very much what Everest is. And so, yes, it is the small things, doing them right. It's the constant focus. You're there for one reason, and so everything else has to fit around that. So if you have to rest for a day, which you have to, because once you get up high, there's just not enough oxygen to be doing stuff all the time. And so you'll do a day's training, and then you need to do 2 days resting. 1 day's training, 2 days resting. You go up high, you come down low, you recover, breathe more oxygen. It's richer. There's more air down low. Go up high, come down. And it's having the discipline not to get distracted. And it's having the discipline to eat the right food. It might not be food that you like. You need to eat the right food that gives you enough calories, to drink enough fluids, to work out systems that allow you to sleep when there's not much oxygen and you're waking up gasping for breath. It's all of these little things that you have to work on, focus on. Going to the bathroom,
Yeah.
at base camp and ABC, going to ablutions, easy. We have toilets. It's really easy. Once you get up high, it's not so easy. People die on Everest stepping out of their tent up at 7,500 meters to try and urinate, to have a pee in the middle of the night, and they'll slip and fall. It's so cold that quite often the only place that you can urinate, the only place you can have a pee is actually into a bottle in your sleeping bag.
Wow.
It's like You have to aim well,
So what
okay?
about
You know,
water? Drinking water? What about drinking water? Basics like that.
well, you have to hydrate. It's very dry up high, and you lose a huge amount of your body fluids just by breathing. Okay, and just as you exhale out, and so you're always dehydrated. So you're always having to be melting snow because of the low air pressure. Water never boils, and so the warmest it will get is perhaps lukewarm up high, and so you're having to deal with that. But you're having to drink enough, but you try not to drink too much that you actually end up having to go outside and pee. It's -50. You know,
Wow.
it's a huge challenge, and so it's the simple things. But if that becomes a problem, then you haven't done your research right. You haven't done your focus right. So it's making sure you have all of those things. So at our camps, our 4 camps up high on Everest, we had a tent, and in every tent there was 2 sleeping bags, a cooker, and that was it. And so no matter where you were on the mountain, you could always survive because you knew there was a tent and a cooker, and and you could crawl into one of our tents, you know. And it's the everything else is down to you, the food that you take. But you
Sure.
can't eat. You're really sick. You're once you're above, say, 6,500 meters, it's for you have the worst hangover known to man. You know, just
Wow.
imagine that for months on end. It's your stomach, your head, everything. You're just feeling ill, and so it's actually very difficult to eat,
And
and
how
you
much
have
are
to
you
force.
carrying? Sorry, sorry. How much are you carrying at any point in time?
Well, we try and stock all of our camps as we go up, and so we have both help with our Sherpa. Plus, we being New Zealanders, we are very proud to try and carry as much as we can.
Okay.
We don't like other people carrying for us. And
Sure.
so I did multiple loads, even myself, the double amputee. I did multiple loads to camp one, to take as much of my own equipment up so I would be ready to go. Most days you're carrying only perhaps 10 to 11 kilograms. Once you get heavier than that, it's very, very difficult.
Sure. So we talked about this in the past, and you share this in your presentations as well around the world. What is harder, going up or coming down?
For an able bodied mountaineer, going up is much harder than coming down. For a double amputee mountaineer, it's 3 times harder, 10 times harder to come down. For me, I've grown up a mountaineer. You know, I've been able to focus on trying to make these artificial legs work and make the rest of the body work even harder because I can't climb slow. You need to climb the same speed as everyone else, but coming down, it just doesn't work. Hardest thing I've ever done in my life, Raga, and I've done hard things,
Wow.
was climb down Mount Everest.
So, Mark, what is it that makes you climb these mountains, take on these challenges when it is so challenging?
The more challenging, the better. You know,
Okay.
it's the you know you're doing a great climb when you're absolutely hating it. You know you're doing a climb that will be transformational in your life when you're on the edge, when you're on the edge of fear, when you're on the edge of life, because you know that when you get back down, you will turn around, you will look back up, and you'll say, "I did that." And that will empower you everything else that you do. And that is why climbers go back to the mountain constant and back, because every time we're adding to the fire of our own self-confidence
Sure.
and our own empowerment. Yeah.
Wonderful. I mean, we climb our own Everest every day, isn't it, Mark? So what you're basically saying is that our own Everest, we should not run away from the challenges, look out for those challenges, take those risks, have the knowledge, make sure that we look after ourselves, but they allow us and empower us to look at the next one, right?
Well, the thing that we don't do enough, Raga, is we don't celebrate the mountains in our lives that we
Sure,
overcome. And
sure.
some of them can be just little hills, you know. you should be able to find something to celebrate every day. You should be
Sure,
able to find multiple things to celebrate every day. And if you can have those small wins in life, then when life gets really tough, they add up and they help. And when you get a big win, then you can really celebrate. But it's those small wins that empower us for
sure.
so much of our life. Yeah.
Sure. I've got some more comments coming in. Of course, our very own Rima Sangui, the co-founder, business partner of Speaking Minds. She's here. She says, "Hey, Mark, you're just amazing. Discipline is the word." She agrees. Oh, by the way, her sister Kiran, she went to the Everest base camp last year, as you
Yes,
know.
I see.
And
Yeah.
she said she had a tough time doing the base camp. I'm sure she did. Um, what's
Well,
the
base
average?
camp is tough.
It is tough, huh?
Yeah, it is tough to get to base camp, but you just need to remember that base camp is where we start. And so it's tough getting to base camp, but just imagine how much tougher it is above that. And so even for Sherpa who have been down low for many months, when they turn around and they need to go back up high to base camp, it's tough. But they're tougher, and so it's what you learn. So every time you go higher, you think, oh, I can do that. I can go back and I can do it better. Yeah,
But she did it. Kiran did it. I mean, that's the biggest win, I
it's
think.
fantastic.
But she did it, yeah. So Sarita Dasgupta says, "How long after getting your artificial legs did you start training to climb again? And how long after was your first climb?"
Oh, very quickly, and probably far too quickly. So we got our first legs perhaps 6 weeks post amputation, and from our first legs, I was back at work as a park ranger at Mount Cook, perhaps 2 months after amputation,
Oh,
or 3 months. 3 months after amputation, and
wow.
so I was out trying to train even then. But the reality is, it takes about 6 months for you to get used to your legs. And then it probably takes about 2 years to really understand. Now, I didn't know that then. And so I tried and I tried and I tried. I had bleeding stumps. I had incredible frustration. I was trying to climb and climb like I did before. And it was very difficult, a difficult time. Everyone's going, you're doing great, but in your own mind, you're not doing great because you know how much better that you can do. And
Sure.
so, in the first matter of months, I started training again. In a matter of less than a year, I was still at Mount Cook. I was still trying to climb. And then, after about 2 years, I needed to take a break. I needed to realign, and that's when I went to university and got a degree and 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 started the really diverse journey that I've had through life. But there's always been the mountaineering in the background. There's always been the skill trying to improve in rock climbing and ice climbing. That's always been there. And so the stumps do slow it down. But
Sure.
the thing that I guess that I lost when I lost my legs wasn't ability. What I lost when I lost my legs was the ability to do something right now. That
Sure.
the immediacy of life is what I lost, because now I just have to work a lot harder. I have to plan. I have to train, and it's just harder. But the rewards are even greater.
Mark, on that note, I have a question to ask you, maybe a bit more personal than you may expect. But people have these preconceived notions. When I get asked, as someone who represents you and manages your work, right? I get asked this a lot whenever we have projects on and people invite you to engage and to host sessions. They say to me, they ask me things like, "Oh, do I have to have a special room for Mark with special facilities for Mark because he's differently abled? Do I have to have a ramp for him?" And they'll ask questions like, "Oh, does he have children? Oh, like how?" So as if they're expecting, someone who's differently able to be what? I have no idea. I don't have answers sometimes. You've climbed Mount Everest after all, you know? So how do you feel about it? And what is your answer to them?
It's very hard not to be cynical. It's very hard to use some very black humor. It's you know me, Raga. It's I love to make fun of people, you know, and I have a very robust sense of humor, and so for me, you know, I specifically ask not to have a fully accessible, a disabled room, because I'm not disabled. You know, it's not disability; it's a ability. If I was in a wheelchair, I would need things that allow me to get around in a wheelchair. That's great, but I'm not. I've got legs. You know, it's the frustration I have is people expect me to be disabled when, um, you know, I've just got these legs that cost me thousands of dollars. You know, I need to use them, and so it's very much recently, just today here in New Zealand, there's been a controversy around a very respected person got upset when somebody was parking in a disabled car park that his disabled family member needed to use. And it's classic. People expect me to use a disabled car park, which I would never do because I've got legs. You know,
Yeah.
it's I need to leave those for people that are truly disabled because I don't see myself as disabled.
Mark,
I
can you
might
show us your legs?
when the legs get sore, but you know,
Can,
um,
can you show us your legs? Some of your legs. I can see your legs behind one of your.
yeah, sure.
Yeah. Can we have a look, please?
So these are my climbing legs, and so these you can see the carbon fiber. They've got the crampons attached. Very basic, but it's not about the basic leg. It's less about the technology, and it's more about the bit that sticks on here, and that's called you. And so
Wow.
much of what I do is this is 5% of what I do. 95% of what I do is the bit that's attached right here. You know, it's the brain, and it's that's the important thing. And so up the top, I've got my ski legs. You can see those just up there.
Yep.
Um, Fantastic. You know, it's for me. I ski better now than when I had legs, but that's through knowledge. That's through learning, and it's through just constantly going at it. It's about making sure that you do it.
So you ski, you climb, you cycle. Is there anything you don't do?
Oh, I find water a real challenge, Raga. Did you know you can actually drown in water? And so
Okay. Hopefully not a glass of
climb
water.
on it. And so
Wow.
I've had to learn to swim. Just you know, as you well know, it's with you in India over the last 5 years, I've had to learn to swim, and that's been a real challenge for me. It is. Just
Ah,
I see one of our guests that's arrived is Harper, one of our treasured members of our community here in
sure.
our small town. And Harpal here is from northern India, from north of
Yeah.
Chandigarh.
Yeah.
For the last 2-3 months, Harpal has been one of a small team of absolutely critical people in our small village because he is one of the people that keeps our small supermarket running. He has worked right through lockdown, just like, and they've kept supplies up. We have not run out of anything really in New Zealand, uh, and especially in our small town. In our small town, our supermarket has had everything all the time, and it's thanks to a very small team of which Harpal was one. So
Sat
thank you,
Shri
Harpal.
Akal, Harpal, thank you for joining us and fantastic message from you. Hema Mehta also shares a very interesting message. She says so much to learn from you and she's taken that lesson. It's not a disability, it's an ability. It's etched in her. Very wonderful, Hema. Mark, now your USP, the biggest thing about you is that when we do live sessions with you, we can see you, your legs, what you've overcome, your journey, your story is all there. COVID times, we are working from home, your presentations are now online. So, how do you feel that reaction, the engagement from the audience now? Does it have an impact on the way you speak?
I find it far more challenging, partly because in this amazing world that we have, our comms aren't all that good. You know, our video conferencing, it's is just not that good. And so that is a wee bit like speaking in a different language. It's like being able to present, but also knowing that there is a translator as well. And
Right.
it's a wee bit like that. Raga, you and I have worked together in some
Sorry, Mark, we just lost
challenge.
that. Can you just repeat that sentence? We just the screen froze.
One of our most challenging times of presenting together, Raga, is we presented in Iraq, and
Oh,
so we were presenting to an Iraqi audience, and so we had to have online translation,
right.
and that's what this is a wee bit like. It's dealing with, it's understanding that it's much harder to get the essence of yourself across. So instead of doing one presentation, you need to do two or three or four just to get the same amount of material across. And it
Sure,
is so much more difficult looking to wee squares on a screen than being able to look someone in the eye in the audience and engage with them. And
sure,
so very pleased that in New Zealand, many of our small events are started up again,
sure.
and I'm able to host small groups of 50 and 60 executives and in one room and look them in the eye. And
Wonderful.
it's pretty hard to replicate that. Yeah.
But I know you're managing so well. We're doing some work together, and even online, you just are just the Mark Ingles we know. Mark, I have to share this with you about that you brought up the Iraq incident. I remember when we were there, and just for the audience, Mark and I and a group of people from the Hakka team that we represent as well, we were all in Iraq in Erbil. And this is many, many years ago now, about 8 or 9 years ago, right? I'm just trying to, maybe 6, 7, I don't know, a while ago. And on the day that we were there, there was the first incident of bombing after in many years. And I remember suddenly everything changed from having a very peaceful, environment around us. Suddenly there was conflict and there was drama. And I must tell the audience this: I felt exceptionally safe. Although I know that there was army around and they were all looking after us, but I only felt safe, I must say, because Mark was with me. And that is the kind of, no, I really mean it, and you know that, right? And I want to say that there are certain people in your life that you meet who will give you that faith and that trust. And that's Mark has been with in my life now for over 12 years, Mark, and I've always felt safe with you. And the reason I say this is because there have been times when people have questioned that. They say, oh, can we climb with Mark because Mark doesn't have legs, is a double amputee. And I'm saying, Mark, if you want to climb, Mark is the person you should climb with. And so these are conversations that I think these are preconceived notions people seem to have for some reason about people who are differently abled. So I keep bringing it back to that, Mark, because I would love to understand how to manage these kind of conceptions about people.
The only way we can change people's minds is by doing. It's not by talking. And so that's I see as my role. I see as my opportunity. I see as my gift is both to talk, but most importantly to do. And it's the doing that is critical. And that was part of the reason I climbed Everest. I climbed Everest for the selfish reason I'm a mountaineer, but I also climbed it to be able to give us what we call in New Zealand the mana, to show that that this is possible, that to open windows, open eyes. We all look out at life through a wee window. What I want people to do is not just have a small window. What I want them to do is to grow and grow and grow that window. And that comes from doing. That comes from experience. And so it comes from seeing my experience, but most importantly, people doing it as well. It's the journey that we take, Raga. It's the
Sure. Sure.
that enriches us.
Sure. Animita Goswami says, amazing mind. She says, disability is in the mind. Yes, agree. We have to free our minds of disability. And she has just given me a compliment. I'm just blushing. Thank you, Animita. Okay. So, Mark, now, where to from here? What's your next big challenge? And what is going on?
Oh, it is a whole new world. To a certain extent, that life is starting again. That I'm still sharing my story, still sharing much of what I do. The most important thing that's happening right now, it's about to snow. It's the ski season has started. It's fantastic. It's back out, new skis, new ski legs. It's going to be amazing. But that's just one of the things that keeps me excited about life. There are just so many other things, and for me, there is an energy post-COVID. There is an energy, and there is an openness to change. My life is about change, Raga, as you well know, and for me, and the journey that I've been through with Speaking Minds and the opportunities you've given me is almost invariably working with cultures, be it corporate cultures or communities, around how they look at change. There is not a better time in life to be looking at change right now and to be embracing it. And the challenge for me is that I've spent my life talking about change, and actually now I actually have to do it. And
Oh,
so it's exciting time.
but you live change, Mark. I mean, for me, you're the example of when change is thrust upon you. I mean, you didn't ask for that change to happen, it got thrust upon you. And look at how you reinvented yourself, continued to do things that most of us cannot even imagine. So, you are the guru of change, of managing change, as far as I'm concerned.
And I'm still and I see myself as a work in progress, Raga. It's there's more change to come. We have a lot of new. I've just taken on a new opportunity to work with the mountain bike trails here in New Zealand, and especially with our great rides. And so it's a very exciting 3-year project coming up to really encourage people to get out there and ride. And I encourage people to get out there and ride, because the double amputee can do it. You can
Yeah,
too,
absolutely.
and so it's marvelous. It's about. I think the thing that I'm most proud of is that I can share the things I love, and I hope that the skills that I've gained in life is that the ability to share it with others, and that's I think the most important thing. My next Everest isn't a mountain, because I'm running out of bits. I don't want to lose too many more bits. So um, for me, my next mountain is actually ensuring that people can take on their own Everest, wherever it is, but take it on with the confidence and the resilience that's actually needed, because that's what we need. A
Sure.
lot of people are getting punched down at the moment, and
Yeah,
it's not about getting back up, but it's about getting up smartly. It's about looking
sure.
out and saying, how can I create a new life? And
Sure.
it's about helping people do that.
Right. Preeti Shah, we know her. She says, Mark Ingles, you've always inspired me and my family. Sure, just thanks, Preeti.
Ruthie, so good to hear from you. There are so many people here that I'm missing seeing. That hopefully we'll be back in Mumbai soon, and back in India and catching up with so many people.
Couple of things before we conclude, Mark. One is you've got this huge travel bug. How are you managing? I want to know.
Oh, Raga, to have it's just the longest I have been in one place during lockdown for any time of my life. And so at the start of lockdown, normally I am traveling for 3 to 4 hours most days, be it to Christchurch, onto a plane, somewhere else. It's rare that I have a one whole day in one place. And so I said that for every hour that I travel, I was going to donate that hour to volunteer work in the forest of the small village here and build this fantastic new mountain bike trail. And so I've done probably well over 150 hours during the lockdown on the end of a shovel, on the end of an axe, and I've created this almost 2 kilometers of this magic new trail, and it is it's the best Everest I've done. It's the one thing that was very difficult to do. It was hours and hours of hard labor, but it was hours and hours and thinking. It's been the most exciting time, and I've come out of it with a trail. It's like building an edifice to my lockdown, and so from that, and that allowed me not to go mad, really, by not traveling. And so travel starts again for me on Monday. I'm back on a plane. I have a board meeting in Palmerston North in the North Island of New Zealand. So it's back on a plane, and then lots of trips coming up. So
fantastic. I'm so pleased you're in New Zealand, because it's so positive. It's safest, like I said. We are learning from somebody who can stay positive anyway. And then you're sharing positive messages, because the rest of the world, Mark, as you know, particularly in India, it is under lockdown. They're saying the COVID-19 will peak sometime in July. Lots and lots of cases, huge amount of uncertainty. Where I'm in UK as well, there is all that stuff happening, but more so in India right now. So what is that one message that you can give to our audience and people who are watching us today?
It's like pain. It will end. It will end, and it is very tough while it's happening, but it will end. And the most important thing we can do is set ourselves up for when it does end. And it won't end just magically straight away, just like pain. It will gradually disappear. And so our real, what we really need to do is to be looking ahead for when we come out of it, because we will. Nothing lasts forever. Nothing good lasts forever, but nothing bad does either, especially if we can apply our thinking to it. When you're locked down in COVID, when you're in the worst possible situation, it will end. And it's having the confidence that it will end. And what are we going to do after? It's about thinking positively. But most importantly, is it's that attitude that we can take. Looking around, finding something. It will end, and it will be great.
So much to learn from you, Mark. Thank you for your time. I keep thinking to myself, whenever I am on have a low time, that if you can spend 13 and a half days in an ice cave, minus 20 degrees, I cannot even imagine. When I hold a cube of ice in my hands for less than a minute, it just kind of, plays with my mind, right? And 13 and a half days in minus 20 degrees, it gives me so much hope. Some of the best moments I have had are the times that I've spent with you, traveling with you, listening to you. And each time I listen to your conversation, I learn so much more. Mark, thank you very much for your love, your friendship, and the great, great, insights you share with us. Thank you for being with us on the other side. I hope the audience.
Thank you, all the team. Thank you, the great list of people that have been there. So, yeah, namaste. Catch up again soon, eh?
Yeah. So the audience who have been here today, engaging, listening, learning, thank you very much. This is what makes the other side special. I hope that you have seen the other side of Mark Inglis today. Thank you to our team, Sean D'Souza, who works on the creative for us, staying at home, working from home. Nicola Fenton, my co-partner, co-founder of Speaking Minds, who works in the background relentlessly. Thank you for keeping the Facebook streaming alive and curating this with us. We will see you all on the 9th of June at 8:30 p.m. India time, 4 p.m. London, 11 p.m. Singapore, because we've got the one and only Lisa Ray coming up. You know where to find me for any feedback or questions at Speaking Minds Global or at Totally Out Now. Thank you, everyone. Mark, thank you very much. I want to see you soon, and hopefully it will be India.
Okay.